Two famous stories from foreign countries, translated by Edna Worthley Underwood. The Elopement, Alexander Petofi. But where shall we go? To Budapest. To Pest? Of course. Why there? It's the safest place. Very well. Early. I'll be ready early. Use every precaution. Do not worry. On no account be late. No, of course not. Goodbye, Anna dear. Poor Andrew von Chauny. And at this moment in the club he is saying checkmate with an air of triumph to his opponent, just as if he himself had not just been checkmated in life, for Anna is his wife and Karl his nephew. A few days later they talked of nothing in the little village where this happened but the elopement of Madame Andrew with her nephew Karl von Chauny. It served the old fool right. Why did he marry such a young and beautiful girl? That's too much for me. I can't solve the problem. Probably because they were so much in love with each other. True, I suppose. But I'm sorry for the old man. I shouldn't be a bit surprised if the grief killed him. Poor fellow. And the unfortunate scandal. During the time conversation like this was common in the little village, Karl and his beautiful young aunt had met in Pest. While their carriage was on the way to the hotel, another carriage started from there. "Oh!" screamed Madame Anna in terror. "I hope he'll lose his eyesight," thought Karl von Chauny to himself, throwing a hasty glance in the direction of the other carriage. They both wrapped themselves up in their cloaks as well as they could. The man who saw them was a merchant from their hometown. "He did not recognize us," declared Karl reassuringly when they entered their room in the hotel. "If he had, he would have spoken to us. Thank heaven for that. Now you belong to me, Anna. Wholly, wholly. To me belong the beautiful brown hair, the red, sweet lips, the glowing black eyes, the proud, swan-like neck. Yes, yes, I belong to you, Karl." And they were happy for a little while. But the love of the senses is an intoxication from which one awakens, and when they awoke and came to their senses, they both exclaimed, "In the name of goodness, what are we going to live upon? We have no money, we have nothing to eat." They had not finished speaking when someone knocked at the door and a stranger entered. "Have I the honor to address Monsieur Karl von Chauny?" Karl listened confused and frightened because he felt that they had been discovered. "You do not answer," continued the stranger, "but your surprise proves that you are the one I seek. I beg you to sign this little piece of paper. Exactly 1 year from today, I will come to see you again. Do not forget. In just 1 year. Goodbye." The mysterious stranger went away. It was difficult to say which was greater, the surprise or the joy of the lovers. The paper which the stranger gave him was draft for a sum of money sufficiently large to enable them to live in luxury for a year. According to the written demand of the stranger, the money was paid to them promptly. "It is incomprehensible," declared Madame Anna, looking at the money. "I should say it is incomprehensible," agreed Karl. "Gold falls upon us just like manna from heaven." Now they could live happily. They had no material cares to worry about. And they thought now, of course, that the merchant did not recognize them. If he had, would he not have told Monsieur Andrew von Chauny? "And at the end of the year," explained Karl, "the stranger will come again, and we shall have more money. Is not that what he said?" "Yes, indeed." 6 months after the departure of Madame Anna with her nephew, a young man appeared suddenly in the home of old Ms. Andrew von Chauny. His face expressed suffering and a decision reached in a mood of despair. Old M. Andrew had just returned from his club in a rather melancholy frame of mind. He was either sad over the disappearance of his young wife or because the priest had beaten him again at chess. When the young man entered, the old man, white and trembling, sank back in his chair. The young man seized his hand and implored, "Uncle, dear uncle, what shall I do to be forgiven? I am ready to do anything." "Where is she, the woman?" She is not here." The old man drew a deep breath of relief. I am going to tell you the whole story, declared Karl. You will see then that you ought to pity me and not take revenge upon me. I can't tell you how I have suffered. My happiness did not last long. I lived in a veritable hell. Your wife has the face of an angel, but all the devils there are dwell in her heart. She is the worst-tempered woman I have ever known in my life. I could not stand it a day longer. I had to run away and leave her. My poor nephew, I do pity you from the bottom of my heart. But you ought to pity me. She only remained with you 6 months, while she remained an entire year with me. You too, dear uncle. You're surprised, I suppose, are you not? Everyone thought we were happy, but you should have seen us when we were alone. Then you would have learned a thing or two. When I think of her, it makes me shudder. When I found you had eloped with her, I blessed you. No one could have done me a greater kindness. In order to reward you, as soon as the merchant told me where you were, I sent you a yearly allowance, so you would have no inclination to come back and no hindrance where money was concerned. Svatopluk Sek, Chapter 1. Here is the pocketbook of the hero of this story, Mr. Alfred N. I ask you to take it and look into it. You see several compartments, and in them, nothing. We turn the pocketbook upside down and shake it. What falls out? Nothing. Twilight clings to the corners of the room. The clothes closet yawns toward us. Empty. The bed dreams in vain of luxurious pillows. The bookcases are empty. Poverty grins from every corner. The cold pipe falls from the hands of the occupant of the room. The bitter smile disappears. The eyelids close. The golden dreams have vanished. Someone knocked softly. Alfred jumped up. Should he open the door? It was probably a mistake. None of his acquaintances would come to see him now, because they knew he had nothing which they could borrow. Cautiously, he opened the door, being mindful of his worn trousers and the pitiful fragment of a coat that hung from his shoulders. A diminutive man stepped into the room. His neglected appearance fitted exactly the words he said. "Old clothes. Dear sir, Aaron pays fine." The bitter smile reappeared on the face of Alfred. "I have nothing," he replied to the Jew. But the Jew did not permit himself to be dismissed so easily. He pushed his way into the room and peered inquisitively about. "Perhaps you'll find something. Old shoes, books. Aaron buys everything, everything, everything." "Look for yourself," commanded Alfred bitterly. "Here is the clothes closet. Here are the bookcases here." "Ma, as God is good, not a thing," declared the Jew, amazed. "It's as if it has just been swept out. Too bad, young man, too bad. Aaron pays fine." At these words, he drew from his dirty caftan a leathern purse and began to shake it. The bright sound of gold rang out, the alluring voice of the metal, more alluring than the voice of a siren. Alfred trembled at the sound. His eyes looked greedily upon the dirty purse. Over the face of the Jew flashed lightning swift a look of satisfaction. Patting lovingly the fat purse, he continued, "Aaron pays fine. Aaron buys everything, everything, everything." "But can't you see that I haven't a thing to sell?" demanded Alfred angrily. "Certainly the gentleman has something for which Aaron will pay many, many pieces of gold. Stop this humbug, Jew. If you don't, I'll throw you downstairs and straight into Abraham's bosom." "Aaron knows what he says," replied the Jew in a wheedling, submissive voice. "The gentleman has a precious jewel for which Aaron will pay whatever the gentleman may ask." He plunged his bent fingers into the deep purse. Alfred followed the gesture with sparkling eyes and replied, "Speak out. What is it that I can sell to you? What is it that I have that I know nothing about?" The Jew came nearer and whispered, "Character." Alfred surveyed him with surprised eyes. "Character? Are you a fool?" The Jew stepped back, straightened up, and spoke boastingly. "The gentleman is surprised? Well, Aaron buys everything: worn-out clothes, the virtue of women, old umbrellas, honor, trash, and the divine fire of genius, rabbit skins. Aaron buys the entire world. Why should he not buy character? Character is a rare thing nowadays and valuable. There are plenty of people without character. Alfred regarded the speaker with terror. Through the window, the last light of the setting sun penetrated and gave the Jew a sort of ghostly, inhuman appearance. The purse in his hand became red, hot like a coal. The unkempt hair and beard were changed into threads of gold. Gold gleamed from every fold of his caftan. It gleamed from his features, and it was as if 2 golden ducats shone from his eyes. The demon of gold stood before him, bent of neck, with greedy, claw-like fingers that were ready to fall upon any prey and crush the lifeblood out. He covered his face with his 2 hands. When he looked up again, the sun had set, and the Jew had resumed his ordinary appearance. The nimbus of gold had vanished. "Well, my dear sir, will you sell your character? Aaron pays fine. There is a great sale for character just now, and not much to meet the demand. Will you sell? Aaron will pay you a prodigious sum." The Jew took a ducat from the purse and held it up between his fingers. Alfred looked longingly toward the shining circle. Then he turned his head away and replied firmly, "No, I will not sell." The Jew shook his head. "No? By heaven, a fine character. I'll give twice as much for it. 3 times, a noble character. No, I'll make you a millionaire. You shall dwell in palaces, drink wine of the choicest vintage, kiss the sweetest lips." Alfred looked about as if some beautiful vision floated before him in space. Then he repeated with a sigh, "I will not sell." "Well, just as the gentleman pleases. Keep your character together with your misery. Aaron will keep his gold. I bid you good day." He threw the ducats back into the purse, placed it in his caftan, and turned to go away. In the door he paused and looked back. "Aaron has a good heart. He does not like to leave a man like you in such misery. Do you know something? I'll lend you the gold, and you pledge me your character. How does this offer please the gentleman?" Alfred meditated. He looked about the room. The closet was empty. The bed had no pillows. The bookcases were empty. Everywhere poverty. He made a despondent gesture. "Well, take it. I pledge it." Then he paused. How could a person pawn his character? That was the dream of a foolish brain. "I know what worries the gentleman, and Aaron knows help for it too." He took from his pocket some little pill boxes, opened and closed them. "Look, here is your character," he replied scornfully, tapping upon the cover of a box. Alfred looked at the little box. In the dim light, he read the superscription, "Noble Characters." "Look, see how I classify character, all according to merit. Here you have old-fashioned bohemian characters. They belong to old people with long beards. Here are light characters, comparatively cheap, but not durable. I have to guard them constantly against changing winds. Sometimes politicians buy these characters for presents. In this box are found stern, upright characters. They are often found at army headquarters. But what do you care about them? You'd rather see the money counted out." He took out another purse and piled shining ducats one upon another. Suddenly he paused. "In 5 years, at this same hour, Aaron will come again, no matter where you may be. Then if you do not pay me back the sum with interest, the character belongs to me." Alfred nodded. The ghostly Jew grabbed deeper and deeper within the purse. With fabulous swiftness, gold coins were piled up to the ceiling like great columns of marble. The purse evidently was inexhaustible. The more gold he took out, the more gold there was in it. God give all men a purse like this. Chapter 2. 5 years passed. Alfred stood in the center of a merry crowd where champagne flowed like a river. Diamonds flashed, silks and velvets rustled, sparkling fountains, bright shadows on water, penetrating perfumes, splendid gardens. All this the demon of gold had brought together in one place. Alfred, too, has changed. He is heavier and more round-bodied. His cheeks glow with health. His eyes shine with contentment. It is evident that he had been drinking from the cup of pleasure with the careful discernment of the epicure. Over there sits his wife. Is she that beautiful, motionless maiden whose vision had so moved him 5 years ago? Not at all. The ice of her heart had melted under the glow of Alfred's blazing ducats. The vision charmed him no more that had once enticed him. He did not love her, and she did not love him. They treated each other courteously before the world, but in private, what a difference. The lack of character of Alfred was an open secret. Everyone remarked about it, yet he carried his head high, and everyone bowed before him. His breast was covered with orders. The highest honors were his. Fathers held him up to their sons as model. See, they say, how he has advanced. In that same garret where he used to sit, there is a pale youth in shabby slippers and ragged coat, dedicating to him a long poem about the exalted goal of human endeavor. And I would rather write an ode to gold. Such an one were worthy of the age. Dershowin's Ode to God is old-fashioned. It has no merit for our age except the form in which the Emperor of China has preserved it, in letters of gold upon a banner of silk. Gold is the god of the age. Heaven announces its glory above the moon on the dollar, and the stars, on small silver pieces, shines the giant ducat, the sun. Upon earth we pray to it, in the monstrance and the cross. Under different names we serve it, some as faith, love, right, truth, others in sinful mammon. For the sake of gold, we preach morality, we shed blood on the fields of battle. For the sake of gold, with a dull pen, I write this satire. O shining, mighty, divine metal, I praise you, prostrated in the dust before you. Surely, dear brothers in gold, you will pardon me this diversion. A servant resplendent in gold braid announced to Alfred that a dirty Jew was waiting who insisted upon coming in. Take him to my study, he ordered. It is a softly sensuous, luxurious room. From baseboard to ceiling, the walls are covered with pictures of beautiful women, gorgeously dressed. Again, Alfred and the ghostly Jew are face to face. "You are late," said Alfred, glancing at the clock. "Yes, on account of bribes," was the reply. "And I lost a noble character too, which I bought abroad. On the boundary they confiscated it. One would think character contraband of war." "You bring my pawned pledge back, do you?" interrupted Alfred. "Of course, your grace," replied the Jew, and drew from his pocket the little dirty box. "Keep it! Keep it! I don't care anything about it. I'm convinced that one lives better without character. But there is something I'd like to sell you." "Well?" "A little feeling of shame that has remained with me, and sometimes makes me uncomfortable." Aaron shrugged his shoulders, shook his head, and laughed disagreeably. "Nothing doing. The article is out of fashion, something nobody buys. As a proof, your grace, I beg you to consider these portraits which hang upon your walls.